Hi everyone, this is Dr. Fox, and let's talk about the palpebrae, or the eyelids. In this video, we'll discuss the various components of the palpebrae and their associated structures. So we'll be using the terms palpebrae and eyelids interchangeably. These palpebrae are complex and layered structures. So the most superficial aspect of a palpebra is the skin, much like the rest of the body. The skin is going to be contiguous with a layer called the conjunctiva. The conjunctiva is going to be the deepest layer of the eyelid as well. So you can think of the entire eyelid as being sandwiched and comprised of skin and structures deep to the skin all the way to the palpebral conjunctiva. Moving deep to the skin, as it would be anywhere else in the body, we have the subcutaneous tissue, or the subcu. We also have a portion of the orbicularis oculi muscle, in particular the palpebral part of that muscle. That's the part that is right upon the eyelid and is responsible for the rather subconscious action of blinking. We can see that muscle here with a little bit of subcu between the skin and that muscle. Then we have a tarsofascial layer. The tarsofascial layer consists of more dense connective tissues, as we'll see. And this gives a lot of structure and support to the eyelids. And then finally, the deepest layer is that palpebral conjunctiva. So the conjunctiva is going to cover not just the palpebrae, but also the anterior surface of the eye as well. And so we can conceptualize it as having two parts. The palpebral part, which is upon the eyelids, and then the bulbar part, which is on the anterior aspect of the eye. These are contiguous, wherever we have these reflections all the way around. And between the palpebral conjunctiva and the bulbar conjunctiva, we have the conjunctival sac. That conjunctival sac is establishing a space through which tears may be conveyed from the lateral aspect of the orbit, where they're secreted by the lacrimal gland, to the medial aspect of the orbit, where they are sucked into the lacrimal apparatus and tear pathway, as we'll see. It's this conjunctival sac and the continuity between palpebral and bulbar conjunctiva which allows folks to wear contacts and not have to worry about that contact lens getting lost behind the eye, because the conjunctiva is maintaining that. So sandwiched between the skin and the conjunctiva, and just superficial to the tarsofascial layer, is the palpebral part of orbicularis oculi. Recall that orbicularis oculi is really, in its most basic form, a sphincter for the palpebral fissure, the opening through which we see the world. There's an orbital part. That orbital part is entirely voluntarily controlled, and it's called orbicularis because its muscle fibers go around the fissure, and oculi because it's of the eye. So when you decide that you're contracting orbicularis oculi, when you decide, you're going to shut that fissure tight using the orbital part. So entirely voluntary. The palpebral part, here, let me erase this. The palpebral part is right upon the eyelids themselves. The palpebral part is responsible for the involuntary of Orbicularis oculi. That is blinking, so you don't have to think about that. Blinking serves an important function in moving meibum as well as tears across the surface of the bulbar conjunctiva to keep that surface nice and moist and lubricated. There's also a third part for Orbicularis oculi called the lacrimal part. That lacrimal part sits deep here, and when it contracts, it squeezes the lacrimal sac. So I think of this as like one of those little suction bulbs that new parents use to suction away snot or boogers from their infant's nose. So if you squeeze that sac, you're creating a potential vacuum. When you release it, that vacuum is going to suck up anything at the opening of the sac. And in the case of the lacrimal sac, it's going to create a vacuum that pulls in tears from the lacrimal lake, which sits within the conjunctival sac, as we'll see. So in terms of layers, that leaves the tarsofascial layer, which is our means of support for the eyelid. One of the sort of larger parts to this is the orbital septum. So recall there are three bones, the frontal, the maxilla, and the zygomatic, which form that orbital rim. And extensions of their periosteum are going out all the way, all directions, to support those palpebrae. And so that periosteal extension is the orbital septum. This septum is what will define what is orbital versus what is palpebral. Even though it's found within the palpebrae, anything deep to the orbital septum is what would be classified in terms of infections an orbital infection, and anything superficial to it would be a palpebral. Within the palpebrae themselves, there are plates, both superior and inferior. These are called tarsal plates, and they're slightly curved, and they provide support and shape for the eyelids. If you ever were a young person who terrorized others by turning their eyelids inside out, or were terrorized by those who did, that action, that turning of the superior eyelid inside out, so to speak, is made possible by that superior tarsal plate. Those tarsal plates also give muscles that control the palpebrae something to anchor onto. There are also medial and lateral palpebral ligaments, and these are going to anchor the canthi, or the angles of the palpebrae, to the orbit. Superiorly, we also have an aponeurosis of one of our extraocular muscles. This one doesn't attach to the eye. It attaches to the superior palpebrae, and this is known as levator palpebrae superioris muscle. This muscle, when active, is going to elevate that superior eyelid, and there's a little slip of that muscle, and we can see that little slip of that muscle here, known as the tarsal muscle. That tarsal muscle is under autonomic control. So in particular, when there is a sympathetic response, that tarsal muscle engages, opening the superior eyelid, or pulling it upwards, so as to show as much of the eye as possible. Also part of this tarsal fascial layer is a thin layer of meibomian glands. These are modified sebaceous glands, modified oil glands, that secrete a substance known as meibum. Meibum is wiped over the surface of the eye, and it creates a film that helps to prevent your tears from evaporating. It's also in greatest concentration along the margins of the palpebrae, so as to keep the tears within the conjunctival sac. That leads us to the assessment question of this video, and that is, which structure covers a portion of the eye and the lining of the palpebrae? Is it the conjunctiva? Yep, I like that answer. Orbicularis oculi muscle? Nope. Subcutaneous tissue? Nope. Skin? Nope. Tarsofascial layer? Nope. These are all layers of the palpebrae, but none of them are going to cover a portion of the eye. So that is why A, conjunctiva, is the correct answer. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I'll talk to you in the next video.